is crushed.
Elly De La Cruz took the MLB by storm last season, putting up some of the most ridiculous rookie numbers and electrifying highlights, so heading into the season, the expectations for him were sky high. However, the Cincinnati Reds phenom somehow continues to impress, and his start to the 2024 season has been so dominant that he is currently on track for numbers that have never been achieved in the league's history, specifically in terms of home runs and stolen bases. Now, for anyone who's watched Elly De La Cruz play, you know how much he loves to steal bases. This is a man who once stole second, third, and home all in one inning. To say he's good at stealing bases would be a severe understatement. De La Cruz has currently hit 8 home runs and has stolen a league-leading 19 bases for the Reds. For context, the next highest amount of stolen bases is 14, and he has 19, so that should just show you how crazy this is. Now, while it's still early, if you were to project these numbers over a full season, this would put Elly De La Cruz on pace for more than 40 home runs and 90 stolen bases, which no player has ever accomplished. This comes only 1 year after Atlanta Braves superstar Ronald Acuna Jr. became the first player to ever top the 40 home run and 70 stolen bases mark in a single season, which earned him the 2023 NL MVP award. Elly De La Cruz isn't just on pace for that, he's on pace for the 40-90 club, which would set him apart from everyone else in MLB history. Now, it's important to note a major part of the reason stolen bases are up in the league is because of some of the rule changes involving the pitch clock, the number of pitcher disengagements allowed during at-bats. Now, to be fair, some of the stolen bases across the league have been due to these rule changes, but these numbers are still incredibly impressive, and he's the only one putting up these numbers at his rate in the league. But just to kind of showcase how impressive his stats have been so far, he's the first player since 1901 to have at least 8 home runs and 17 stolen bases in a single calendar month. And he did it in the most recent month of April. Before talking about his hitting improvements and some of the analytics behind that, which have been pretty staggering, I'm actually shocked how much he's improved his hitting. I first wanted to explain some of the improvements in his base stealing game, because it's not all just down to speed or luck, but in fact he's actually shown a tremendous amount of improvement when it comes to stealing bases. Now, it's no secret Elly De La Cruz is one of the fastest players in the MLB. But interestingly, he hasn't just been relying on his same speed that he used last year, but he's been making key improvements in his game, and he's seen a pretty big improvement in his base stealing. Now, interestingly enough, although he's increased his on-base percentage, it really hasn't had that much of an impact on his base stealing. He's actually averaging slightly fewer opportunities to steal bases per game than he did last year. So even though his opportunities to steal bases are down, he's making more of those opportunities because he's taking off more. His percentage of steal attempts per opportunities has risen from 40.6% last season, with 43 attempts on 106 opportunities, to a staggering 67.7% with 21 base stealing attempts on only 31 opportunities. That is just insane. So basically, every 2 out of 3 opportunities he gets to steal a base, he attempts to. But it's not like only the number of bases stolen was up, but his efficiency was also up, going from an 81% success rate to an 86% this season. And this isn't just luck either, but he's made this key improvement in his game where he's increased his lead distance on steal attempts, making it much harder for catchers to stop him in time. In fact, Elly De La Cruz has increased his average primary lead distance on steal attempts from 11.8 feet to 13.5 feet, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in a sport like baseball, that is a major deal. Not only has the primary lead distance increased, but the secondary lead distance has also significantly increased. So in that time when the pitcher releases the pitch, he has gone from a secondary lead distance of 20.3 feet to 22.8 feet this season, which again doesn't seem like the biggest deal until you realize how big of a difference that makes in a sport like baseball, where every inch matters. So I cannot express enough how impressive this is, because I thought his base stealing ability in his rookie season was incredible. Somehow he's managed to make significant improvements even to that in only a season. It definitely makes me question what his potential is, because it seems limitless at this point. But not only is he breaking records for stolen bases and home runs, but he may have actually thrown a baseball harder than anyone has ever thrown a baseball in an MLB game. Well, StatCast clocked a 9th inning De La Cruz throw at 106.9 miles per hour. Now, unfortunately, the throw was a little high and a little too hot to handle for the first baseman, But to be fair, if you're going to throw a ball that hard, you should probably throw it a little high. But even though it didn't end up in a catch, it was still undeniably impressive, especially because it set the record for the fastest thrown ball in MLB history. The previous record belonged to Colorado Rockies outfielder Brenton Doyle, when last fall he had a throw to home clocked in at 105.7 miles per hour. Now, it's also important to note that the stat has only been tracked since 2015, so a little under a decade they've been tracking the stats. That's why it's not definitive if it was the fastest thrown ball ever, because they only have data back to 2015, but it's still undeniably impressive, even if we don't know for sure if other people threw it harder in the past. But all these records that he's breaking and the numbers that he has continue to tell a story of a player with just some of the most unlimited potential. And not only that, but he's one of the most electrifying players to watch. Now, along with his powerful arm and his incredible stolen base numbers, De La Cruz has been playing at an MVP level, particularly on the batting side. His batting numbers are up across the board. He has 8 home runs, which is currently 5th in the MLB. He also has 27 total runs, which is 6th in the MLB. He also has an impressive slugging percentage of .586, ranking him 6th in the league. And even more incredibly, he has an on-base plus slugging percentage of .978. This ranks him 9th in the league. Now his on-base percentage is also up. He sits at 20th in the league with an on-base percentage of .392. Also, his batting average is up from last year. He's currently ranked 35th in the league with a batting average of .288. So his batting numbers across the board are up. And while Elly De La Cruz definitely had an electrifying rookie year, he still showed he had a lot of room for improvement, especially with his batting. The physical tools were there, his speed and his power, things that you can't quite teach. So it's been so mind-blowing to see just the ways he's actually improved, and I'll break down some of the more advanced numbers because it has been truly impressive. Looking at his rookie numbers, they were definitely good for a rookie. Now, he started out his rookie season with quite the bang, but he started to kind of taper off as time went on, so I was curious to see how he would fare in the sophomore season. But I definitely didn't expect to see quite the breakout he had, and especially his crazy breakout at the plate. For one, he was a little undisciplined when it came to some of the swings last year, which definitely makes sense that a rookie player isn't the most disciplined on when to hit and when not to. And Elly De La Cruz has become significantly better at noticing and laying off bad pitches. Last season, he had a chase rate of 32.8%, which was just a 24th percentile. This season, he's shown much improvement. His chase rate is down to just 27.5%. Placing him in the 48th percentile. Moreover, his walk rate has also spiked from 8.2% to 13.5%. This is actually the 10th largest jump from last season by 5.3 percentage points, so a pretty staggering increase in his walk rate, and a lot of that has to do with noticing the poor pitches, the pitches to leave. So he's definitely shown much improvement when it comes to noticing which balls are good and which ones aren't. Moreover, De La Cruz had a particularly large drop in chase rate in the 2 lowest pitching zones, from 36.9% to 27.9%. So not only has he shown more discipline against these bad pitches, but he's also significantly more aggressive when it comes to attacking the hittable pitches. As De La Cruz has increased his swing rate on pitches in the heart of the zone all the way up to 69.5%. And not only that, he is slugging at .923%, which is actually the highest in the MLB on those type of pitches. So in other words, on pitches in the heart of the zone, Elly De La Cruz leads the MLB with a slugging percentage of .923. For context, on these type of pitches, Mike Trout has the second highest slugging percentage with .860, so that should indicate how insane De La Cruz's slugging percentage is on these type of pitches. Moreover, last year, his swing rate on pitches in the heart of the zone was 66.4%, so he wasn't swinging on the good pitches as much as he is this year, but his slugging percentage last year was significantly down on these pitches, all the way down at .574 against them. So it's been a staggering improvement, one recognizing the good pitches, and then also really destroying these pitches, as evidenced by the increase in slugging percentage from .574 all the way up to .923, the best in the league on these type of pitches. Not to mention, 7 out of the 8 home runs he has have come on these type of pitches right in the heart of the zone. But the difference in his batting has been even more staggering, especially on meatball pitches, or in other words, the easiest hit to pitches right down the middle of the plate. Where against these easy to hit pitches, De La Cruz has bumped up his swing rate from 69.4% to 84.6%. But not only that, but he also vastly increased his slugging percentage on these pitches from .432 last season to a staggering 1.231. So once again, not only is he more disciplined with hitting the best pitches, but on these easy to hit pitches, he's not only swinging on them at a much higher rate, but he is destroying these pitches, making the most out of them. De La Cruz's ground ball rate is still fairly high at 52.9%, but he's definitely been squeezing more value out of the fly balls than the line drives by hitting those balls harder on average. And he's increased his average exit velocity from 95.2 miles per hour to 99.7 miles per hour from last year, which that 4.5 miles per hour doesn't seem like the biggest deal, but it definitely is. But not only has he been noticing the better pitches and also hitting them harder, but he's also been making better contact with the ball. Overall, nearly 30% of his batted balls this season have been both hard hit, meaning have an exit velocity of over 95 miles per hour, but they've also been hit at the optimal launch angle. So in other words, 30% of the batted balls were hit both optimally and hard this season, as opposed to last season where that number was just 16.3%, so he's nearly doubled it. For context, only 5 hitters in the MLB have done this more frequently. Of course, the guy who leads the league in this is Shohei Ohtani, and when you find yourself on a short list with Shohei Ohtani, you're doing something right. But moreover, this also led to more barrels, or in other words, batted balls with the optimal velocity and launch angle, whose barrel rate increased from 8.5% to 17.6%. This is the MLB's second largest increase from last season. So in totality, looking at all the analytics, especially when it comes to his hitting, he has made massive strides over last year. From an electrifying rookie who definitely showed flashes of brilliance, to someone who is consistently becoming one of the MLB's top players. And the craziest part is, he's only 22 years old. If he's improved this much from one season to the next, it makes me wonder what his potential actually is. I definitely believe the Cincinnati Reds found themselves a true MVP caliber player in Elly De La Cruz. But even putting aside all the numbers, which are hard to do because the numbers are staggering, he is just one of the most electrifying players to watch. Every time he is up to bat or on the bases, you just have a feeling like something great is going to happen. And what did you think? And if you like this kind of video and you want to see more baseball related videos, please consider liking and subscribing for more, and thank you for watching.